Hi everyone, and welcome to the 9th edition of the Weekend Wrap. I'm Totally Speedway's Daniel Powell. We've certainly had a mixed weekend in terms of the racing. A lot of racing was cancelled due to rain, Mother Nature, but as you can see here in Sydney, it's a lovely day here. It's nice and sunny when they predicted that it was going to be raining all throughout New South Wales. So we managed to get a lot of racing in over the weekend. So we'll start with the meetings that were unfortunately cancelled. So we had Toowoomba's High Tech Oils Raceway, which was their ultimate pink night. That was going to be held with the 410 sprint cars, but unfortunately Mother Nature won there in the event. And the event has now been rescheduled. Originally it was going to be cancelled, but now it's been moved to the Saturday night of December 16th, so just before the Christmas rush. So got there. Staying in Queensland, had Lockyer Valley Speedway in Gatton, which is about an hour down the road from Toowoomba's High Tech Oil Speedway, and unfortunately that rain was the winner there. We had the Queensland Sidecar title, which is held in the Fraser Shores of Queensland and Maryborough Speedway. Unfortunately that was cancelled. They did run the qualifier, but unfortunately the main racing was unable to get away, and they still haven't decided when that and if that will be rerun. In New South Wales we had Nowra Speedway, which we're going to have RSA Street Stockers, Super Sedans, Micro Sprints, and that was unfortunately lost due to rain. Lismore Speedway, Northern New South Wales, that was unfortunately lost due to rain as well. Lismore certainly doesn't have good luck when it comes to the weather there. Esperance Speedway, they had a practice meeting scheduled in Western Australia, but unfortunately that was cancelled. Redline Raceway for the King of the Mountain. That's one of the biggest street stock events apart from state and national titles. That was unfortunately cancelled, and that's been rescheduled for the Saturday night of December 16 as well. So the King of the Mountain, which is one of the prestigious street stock events, that's been cancelled as well. So now to the actual racing that was able to be run and won. Warrnambool's Premier Speedway, they were running the Victorian 410 sprint car title, and that was a bruising affair. There was a number of big accidents that marred, especially in the feature race. The biggest one was Matt Dumsney from Sydney. He had a big crash where he's actually hit by another car when he had crashed into another car, and then he was hit cage first. He was knocked unconscious. Fortunately, he was taken to Warrnambool Hospital where he was released, so he was A-OK, but saw photos this morning of Matt's car, and it was certainly a scary proposition, very similar to the Peter Murphy accident a number of years ago over in California in the US there. So unfortunately that was that with that event. Also there was crashes. Grant Anderson, Dennis Jones was the driver that unfortunately hit Matt Dumsney with his arms upside down. Tim Van Ginnigan, he was involved in a crash. Glenn Sutherland as well. Darren Molyneux and Tim Rankin. Actually, Darren Molyneux, one of the locals there, during the red light stoppage, his crew worked previously to try and get the car repaired for the restart. Unfortunately, they were unable to do so. So, in the end, it was David Murcott who's running the Victory Lane Race Gear Victoria number 88 car, owned by Matt and Renee Easton. This was, Murcott put to the driver. It was a very locked down sort of fast track. He ended up defeating Jamie Veal and another local in Corey McCulloch. For David Murcott, this was his second Victorian title win. He won his first back in 2006. For the Easton team, they shared victory, I think 4 years ago. Robbie Farr and Stephen Bell, who was driving for the Matt Easton owned car, where they dead heated at Avalon Raceway. So this is the second title for Renee and Matt Easton from the Victory Lane Race Gear team. So so Jamie Veal put it on pole position, but Murcott was able to get a run on and go on and collect the win. Jamie Veal had to settle for second. That's unusual. It's usually winning or most of the time DNFing for Vealy. So second's still a good result. He's had 4 wins this season and a second in the Victorian title, so that's good for him. Corey McCulloch, he's had a strong start to the season, and third place, he was really happy with that, to finish behind the likes of David Murcott and Jamie Veal is quite an honour. Outside the podium finish was Brad Keller from South Australia. He ended up 4th. Ben Atkinson had his best run in a long time. at Premier's Warrnambool Speedway, where he ended up 5th. Marcus Dumsney put in another strong drive to finish 6th, so unfortunately his brother Matt was unable to, it was mixed fortunes for the Dumsney racing team. Tim Hutchins, once again, consistent run. I think he's finished in every feature race he's ran this season. I think he's finished inside the top 10, so he's kept that up. He ended up 7th. Jai O'Keefe, once again, he put in a strong result to bring home a top 10 result. He ended up 8th after coming from position 19. He claimed the second final transfer spot out of the B main. Ryan Jones started from position 12 and ended up 9th, so he wouldn't have been happy with that result. 10th was Chad Eli, driving for the Stark family motorsport team, so they brought home in 10th. The final finish was Jesse Attard out of Sydney, so only his second season. He's getting plenty of laps on the road with his supportive family. He ended up gaining the final transfer spot out of the B main, so started from position 20 and was able to bring it home in 11th. So that was it was a bruising night, but thankfully there was no serious injuries. There was a number of wrecked cars, which Warrnambool can do a lot of time. The fast lane was the bottom lane, but you had some drivers that were obviously trying to push on and trying to push the envelope, and that leads to having some unfortunate crashes. And thankfully no one was seriously injured, but just some bruised cars. So in the support class, you had the annual Jack Wilshere Cup, and that was run over 20 laps. It was back-to-back wins for Liam Williams. He seems to be able to do no wrong. He travelled down to Warrnambool's Premier Speedway, which he'd done a lot of laps. Now he's living in Queensland with his partner, Kristen Brown. But he's done certainly a lot of laps in his younger years and in recent years at Premier Speedway. And he came away with the win. Josh Buckingham put in a great run to run second, and third was Chris Bellman, the current NT champion. Tasmanian Jock Goodyear was 4th, and Dale Sinclair was 5th. So a really strong run there for Liam Williams and all the other place getters, but Liam Williams just was on a tear. At the Perth Motorplex, so they had round 3 of the AHG 14 Sprint Car Series, which doubled as the Scudderfield Smash Repairs King of Wings event. It was James McFadden. He was making his season debut for the Monty Motorsport team, and what a start that he made. He ended up running second. He ended up running second in his season debut when he ran the Jack Lee car a couple of weeks ago, but on this occasion he came from position 7 due to the gridding system that they run there, or the starting positions that they run there. Come from position 7, was able to run away with a comfortable win. In the process, it was a non-stop 30-lap event. He ended up breaking the 30-lap record by 30 seconds. So it was a dominating performance by McFadden and the Monty Motorsport team, and certainly that sends out warning signs for the team and their winning intentions. It was also good, once again, the ASG series doing a press conference after the event. It just gives you, for things that I'm doing here, just gives you a bit of an insight from the drivers and all the, really lifting the game of Speedway. So we've got second place was Sean Bradford. Sean was able to bring home a second place result. He was fairly happy with that because McFadden was untouchable on the night, so he was happy with that. Obviously there's always things to improve to get closer. Third home was Brad Mialo. That was his first podium finish for the season. Outside the top 3 finish was Daniel Harding. That was his best finish for the season. Jamie Mialo started 5th, ended up 5th. Mitch Wormel, the WA 360 champion, he was doing double duties on the night, also running the 360 Power Series, and he ended up 6th. James Inglis, probably the best result since James Inglis stepped into 410 sprint cars, where he ran 7th. Very strong result. Ex-dirt karter, spent a lot of time over in America with James McFadden, so they're close from the dirt kart days, and he started 10th and ended up 7th. Andrew Priolo had a second place finish in the opening round of the AHG series at the Perth Motorplex. He ended up 8th. Carr Dowling was 9th, and Jason Pride, who won the previous round of the AHG series at the Perth Motorplex, he was 10th. Jamie Oldfield had a tough night. It was his first appearance with the 410 engine, running the Rod Howe WA number 51 car. He ended up 13th, so it was an unhappy night. He was focusing entirely on his 410 activities, but it didn't go according to plan. So, but no doubt Jamie will bounce back. And with in the 360 Power Series, so it was the 5th round for them, and it was Murray Ivanhoe who walked away with the win. He put in a career best drive to take the win. Adrian Hayward ran second. Ben Butcher, who had won the second round, which doubled as the Bonza Bradford Memorial, he was third. Ray Leonard was fourth, and Mitch Wormel was fifth. In the limited sprint cars, so it was all Kings of Wings. There was Formula 500s, also lap medals in the pro. In the limited sprint cars, it was Marshall McDermott who picked the win. He's good friends with Ty Wolferton, who 2 seasons ago, remember, he drove Marshall's car at an event at Geraldton City Speedway a couple of seasons ago. Current WA champion Brett Barden from Geraldton, he was second, and Benny Mygrove was third. In the late models, it was Ryan Halliday. Ryan Halliday's had a fantastic start to the season. He picked up his 3rd win. I think it's from out of 5 rounds of the Pro Dirt Series for the late models. He picked up another win. That was his 3rd win. Brad Blake was second, and Michael Holmes was third. In the Formula 500, it was Craig Bottrell who walked away with the win. Second was Chris Dimmick, and third was current WA champion Glenn Carstairs. And then we go over to Heartland Raceway. That was on the New South Wales Victorian border, and they had round 2 of the All-Star 360 series. The winner on the night was Paul Solomon, so the event finished well after midnight, so there was a number of unhappy people with that. So Paul Solomon took the win. Rusty Hickman put in another strong result to ended up second. He was making his first appearance with the 360s this season, so he's been running 410s, so he's doing a bit of both. So he ended up second. Chris Solomon was third. Eddie Lumber, one of the locals there, he's from nearby Deniliquin, I think it's about an hour away from there. He ended up finishing in 4th. Daniel Evans, the former South Australian champion, came from position 12 to end up 5th. Outside the top 5 finishers, there was Mark Caruso, Jack Gartner, Michael Tancredi, the former Victorian 360 champion, Cody Atkins, and Tony Mule, the former Australian champion. DNFs was Brenton Farrer. Brenton Farrer drove spectacularly in the first round to end up second, but unfortunately had a DNF after qualifying ninth. Chris Campbell impressed many. He put it on pole position, was unfortunately unable to go on with the job on the feature and recorded a DNF. So, and then also the Super Sedans were on the program. That was their opening round of the Victorian Super Sedan Series. There was a strong field of cars from South Australia and Victoria, so it's probably one of the best fields, and it was great to see Victorian Super Sedans getting a bit of a resurgence and seeing South Australia and Victoria both support each other. So it's not as strong as, say, Queensland, because Queensland's pretty the hotbed of Super Sedans, but this Victorian Series to have a number of some of the country's best drivers, like in Ryan Alexandra, Dave Gartner, all genuine front runners around the country. So in terms of Super Sedans, but the winner in the end was former or two-time Victorian champion Peter Nicola. So he got the win. Ryan Alexandra ran second, running the Steve Stewart South Australian number 47 car. Third was Ash Bergmeyer. Fourth was Mick Nicola, the 3-time Australian champion, and running at the top 5 was Anthony Randall, who's running the Terry White car from Bendigo. So, DNF was Dave Gartner. He unfortunately had a bad run. Corey Smith ended up 7th. We also had, a number of other DNFs amongst that. So it was unfortunate. So, with that. But a good night nonetheless. Then we had Sydney's Valvoline Raceway. They were under threatening skies all night. It's overcast here in Sydney. It's still overcast now. The sun comes in and out, and we haven't had much rain, but they were able to get the meeting run in. Sydney's Valvoline Raceway. So we had the second round of the development series. That was for the 410 sprint cars, and it was Kiwi New Zealand visitor Dean Brindle. So Dean Brindle has based a car down here for the season, and he was able to come away with a win in the 20-lap feature race. Brendan Scorgie was second, and third was James Duckworth, the former Aussie racing car national champion. So, and outside in 4th and 5th was the Cassidy siblings, Daniel and Jess Cassidy. So they drove really well. A number of guys, Darren Saliard was racing once again and brought home a finish. Graham Largalow, they all done really well to get some extra laps, and it's great to see there with that. Despite being nominated, Mark Carlin didn't make his debut for his 410 sprint car debut. He was nominated for the event, but he was probably due to the weather being a bit dicey, he didn't bother making the trip up, which is fair enough because it was rain pretty much everywhere apart from Sydney. I'm sure we got a little bit of sprinkles of rain, but there was no major rain that hampered the meeting. So in the speed cars, there was a big upset. So going to the meeting, everyone was singing Michael Stewart, and he'd won 3 feature races, won 2 at Valvoline Raceway, and won the opening round of the Speed Car Super Series at Canada Speedway. So Michael Stewart did not win, and it was a surprise back at Brett Morris after 11 years out of the driver's seat of a speed car. In between that, he's done a bit of sprint car racing and legend car racing, of course, because he used to be the owner of the legend cars. But he made a cameo appearance back. He was driving the car that Michael Pickens drove to to the Australian title victory, I think, 2 seasons ago, last season, I think it was. So Brett Morris got into the victory lane. Like, when I was reading the results, it was like, are you serious? Is that a typo? Was Michael Pickens driving the car? But no, Brett Morris got behind the wheel after 11 years and was able to use his experience. He's been racing, starting compact speed cars. He's raced speed cars for 20 odd years around the country and at the front of the field. He's one of the most winningest speed car feature race winners. If you go for the history books, you've got Stephen Graham at the top there, Adam Clark, and Brett Morris is right up there as well. So Brett ended up winning the feature race. Regan Angel had another impressive run by the youngster to run second, and Matt Jackson scored his first podium finish of the year in third. Robert McKay was fourth, and fifth was youngster Caden Brown. So, as I said earlier, Michael Stewart, he had his winning run snapped. He ended up sixth. Jamie McKinlay, who was making his return, he was running for the Mal Payton New South Wales number 98 team. He ended up having an unfortunate run where he's unable to start the feature race. So he had problems all night and they were unable to start. In the wingless sprints, it was Dubbo veteran Mark Blyton who scored the win. Blyto's but run super sedan sprint cars and now wingless. He done really well to get the win there. It was 20 laps. He resisted the pressure from Jeff Thomas, who ran second, and Sean Dicker that was third. A hard charging result from Troy Carey. He come from the B main, and he ended up fourth, and Daniel Flood was fifth. In the legend cars, it was Hayden Pascoe who ended up making his first appearance here in Australia since having a successful run over in the US. So he come back, and unfortunately the meeting previous for the legend cars was unfortunately cancelled due to rain. But in the legend cars, Hayden Pascoe scored the win, and second was Liam Heaton, and third was Jacob Griffin. In fourth was Dan Morris, and fifth was Nathan Camilleri. So that was the run. It was a low key night, but then they got the meeting run. Unfortunately, due to having a little threatening skies and all that throughout there. So in Solos Hobart Speedway in Tasmania, they were running. So they had the 410 sprint cars. That was the third round of the GBE Tasmanian 410 Sprint Car Series, and the winner was Jason Redpath. He won the previous round at Latrobe's Independent Oils and Gulf Western Oil Raceway. Second was Mark Mozzie House was second, and third was Adam Alexander. Fifth was Kurt Smith, and Nick Penno was fifth, who's the birthday boy very shortly. Unfortunate incident, Chris Gallagher, he had his second big fire. He had a big fire last season out on the track. This time he was in hot laps, and he had come into after hot laps, and there was a fire. And unfortunately, luckily his crew there, they quickly was able to get him out of the car. And he had a burnt foot, but that put an end to his night. It was unfortunate. He's had a really bad run when it comes to the fires there. So get well, Chris. He's obviously devastated. His season hasn't been the start there yet, but hopefully he can turn it around. In the late models, it was Brad Smith who picked up the win. Callum Harper, the current Australian champion, he was second, and Jason Cox was third. In the street stocks, it was Dale Riley Jr. who picked up the win. Matt Hammond, in his first appearance for the season, was second, and Steve Russell was third. In the junior sedans, it was Jacob Jetson picked up another win. Jesse White was second, and third was Cody Gay. So a really good run. In the Tassie sixes, it was Cameron Briggs, Todd Russell was second, and Heath Bennett was third. In the Bombers class, it was Kylie Jetson, the mother of Jacob Jetson. She picked up the win. Stephen Croft and Harry Moore were second and third. So we're getting through all the races here. Sorry, it's just getting really windy at the moment. So we've got there at Buckaroo Speedway in Western Australia. They had the opening round for the production sedans for the Southwest Series. Barry Rose scored the win. Kane McDermott was second, and third was Wayne Livingston. In the street stocks, it was Jake Blight who scored the win. Cody Avens was second, and third was Damon Thompson. In the junior sedans and the top stars, it was Nathan Carter who scored the win, and in the all stars for the newcomers, it was Matthew Thompson. So just getting through everything here. Then we've got Adelaide Motorsport Park had their first. There's been a lot of conjecture in terms of the season with Adelaide Motorsport Park, but they finally got their season underway. It's a low-key season for them. They're not running any major events or anything like that. So yes, Adelaide Motorsport got the 2016-17-18 season underway. In the street stocks, they had a large field naturally having the Australian title. They're coming up later in the season, so they're going to be running. Many of cars are wanting to get a lot of laps before the national title. So Craig Buchanan scored the win. Bailey Heinrich was second, and third was Sam Brumfield. Kerry Weston was fourth, and Andy Maxwell Jr. was fifth. In the AMCA National, it was Jake Armstrong who picked up another win. Second was Kelsey Allen. She's been driving really well. Ex-Speedo Carter, who stepped into AMCA Nationals late last season, is going from strength to strength, so she put in a good drive to run second. Third was Frank Thierry, one of the Victorian veterans, and fourth was former Victorian champion Darren McCarthy, and Lockie Gwen was fifth. In the Formula 500s, it was Jared Moore. Second was Brendan Zado, and third was Joe Marcelena, I think I was saying that all right. In the junior sedan, it was Drew Flatman who picked up another win. Second was Tyson Gregg, and Heath Vaughan was third. At Gilman Speedo, they had the Jason Plaisted Farewell Cup, so he's finishing. He's naturally been in trouble with the law in recent years. And the sidecars, it was Bryn Gates and Anton Canning who scored the win. Second was Shane Rudloff, and with his passenger Scott Morris. Third was Tim Bitchard and Derek Thomas in third, and fifth was Kim Minadu and Eric Melton, so they were fourth. In the solos, it was Robert Branford who scored the win. Second was Dakota Valentine, and third was Robert Metzen, and fourth was Ryan McInnes. We've got a couple more meetings to cover here for it. So we've got Rosedale Speedo in Victoria. They had their second round of the Victorian Series for the late models, and Cameron Pearson scored a win. In a career best drive was Kirsten Van Vermeulen from New Zealand. She ended up second. Brock Edwards was third. George Napier and James Comfort was fifth. In the AMCA National, it was Jamie Collins, the current Victorian and South Australian champion. He ended up winning. Paul Sutherland was second, and Kean Casey was third. Current Australian champion Tim Reedy made his first appearance for the season, getting some laps before the season, before his Australian title defence later this season at Ballarat's Red Line Raceway. He ended up fourth. Jimmy Harris was fifth. In the mini sprints, it was Darren Schooner who scored the win. Ali Moore was second, and third was Dave Alley. In the standard saloons, it was Jacob Velamin. He scored the win. Second was Scott Roberts, and third was Lee Mitchell. In the unlimited sedans, it was Warwick Taylor, who seems to be driving a bit of everything these days, from wingless sprints, unlimited sedans to open sedans. So he scored the win. Dale Mead was second, and Alan McKinnon, one of the veterans from the unlimited sedans, was third. In the ladies standard saloons, it was current Victorian champion Tracy Ingram who won. Shayna Bishop was second, and third was Bree Campbell. In the junior sedans, it was another current Australian junior standard saloons. It was current Victorian champion Adrian Lawrence. AJ got the win. Second was Casey Ingram, and third was Damon Ingram. And then we've had the final meeting that was run this season. This weekend. It's getting really windy here, so I've got to hold the in case it gets blown away. So Cairns International Speedway in North Queensland. They held one of their final meetings for the start. I think it's their second last run for the season. They had the Formula 500, which was the final round of the Stampede Series. James Kennedy ended up winning the final round. Second was Caden Iverson, who ended up wrapping up the series. So second place was good enough for him, and he won by 50 points. Lexi Underwood put in a strong drive to end up third and complete the podium. Fourth was Ryan Skenner from Brisbane, and Matthew Fleming was fifth. In the North Queensland Championships for modified sedans, it was Jason Boss who scored a 1-2 finish with his son Brody. So the 1-2 for Jason and Brody. They ended up dominating the podium and going on to score a good 1-2 finish for the Boss family. Obviously, Brody coming back from a 6-month suspension following last season's national title at Murray Bridge Speedway. Tony Anderson was third. Fourth was Jason Cummings, and Jason Barnard was fifth. In the National 4 sedans, it was Darren Collins, a former two-time Queensland champion. He scored the win. Buddy King was second, and Matthew Foyle, who's the younger brother of Billy Foyle, who runs Formula 500s, he ended up third in the National 4 sedans. So in the Outlaw Sprint sedans, it was Jeff Rosa who scored the win. Peter Butler was second, and Braden Pickup was third. In the Junior Formula 500s, Ash Ewing who scored the win. Second was Brody Davis in there. So in the final for the Junior Formula 500s. Also, it's interesting to note that Eric Wallace from Junior Sedans, he's from Mariba. He made his Junior Formula 500 debut, so he's still racing Junior Sedans as it is. But he ended up having his first run for the night. So with that. So that completes everything. That's the run-up. Obviously, we would have been covering a lot more meetings, but due to Mother Nature, that wasn't to be. What we've got the Conversations program, so I'm going to be confirming that tomorrow in terms of my guests. So that'll be on Tuesday night. We'll have the weekly Q&A, which will be on Wednesday night. So looking forward to that. But guys, please like, comment, share in regards to this reach and try, and really much appreciate the support. It's amazing that there's hundreds of people that are interested and thousands of people that are interested in listening to what I've got to say. So so we've got coming up, so we'll have Tuesday night will be the Conversations program. We'll have the live Q&A with myself on Wednesday night. That'll be at 7:30, and then we'll have the weekend preview, which will be on Friday. So guys, please like, comment, share. I really appreciate the support. And I'll see you on Tuesday night for the Conversations program, but I'll be releasing that in terms of my next guest. I'll be doing that tomorrow. So thanks guys once again. It hasn't been the best weekend for Speedway across the country, but a lot of racing got done despite the weather sort of thing. So guys, no worries. Have a good week, and I'll see you on Tuesday night. Thanks guys. See ya.